As I was doing an unexpected call that came from Zoho. So I was having a conversation as part of the interview.
How do you balance agility, risk taking, and structure in a high growth company?
Wow, very powerful question, Neha. You don't have to have answers to all the questions, but it is important to have courage to experiment. Culture is not what you demonstrate, but what you tolerate. The question to be asked, you want people tomorrow, or you want people who can shape tomorrow?
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Tallect Talks, where we bring to you powerful conversations with leaders shaping the future of work, business, and talent. Today, we have a truly inspiring guest joining us. He is an HR veteran, leadership strategist, and a thought leader with a rich legacy of enabling business growth through people. Please welcome Varadharaju Janardhanan, a senior HR leader with decades of experience in building iconic teams, cultures, and organizations. In this episode, we will dive into talent strategies, leadership journeys, people first cultures, and what it takes to build high performing teams that scale. Let's dive in. Welcome, Vardha. Thank you so much for joining Tallect Talks today. Let's start with your journey first. Well, it's been a long 3 decades of a professional journey for you. I think we would love to hear about what drew you to HR and talent in the first place.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Neha, for having me here, and most importantly, for your very generous introduction. Makes me feel so good, right? So, your question is it HR by choice or by chance, right? Very interesting journey of last 3 decades. If you ask me, is the journey linear? Answer is not. Very non-linear. Lot of twists and turns. To start with, as a student, I was always a science enthusiast. That drew me to kind of pursue my master's in chemistry. This happened in my last fourth semester. Um, I was doing a project at IIT Madras. Um, that evening, late evening, around like 7ish or so, I was doing an experiment, and pretty much all my colleagues have left. I was pretty much alone there. A deep thought that really stuck me. Hey, Vardha, are you going to be in this kind of environment with pipettes and burette in your hand for rest of your career? A resounding answer that really came, and I said like, no, 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 no. So that was a changing moment for me, right? uh, I turned back to my friends and asked, hey guys, what should I really do? um, they nudged me in a direction where they said like, Vardha, you have a natural flair for speaking and you are a good storyteller. Why don't you pursue marketing, right? I took their advice, and then I did my second master's in marketing. Uh, my first job was a field sales job in a pharma organization. I was busy selling medicines on the road, right? Meeting doctors, chemists, right? 3 years. Uh, I think I really enjoyed, in fact, talking to doctors and all of them. Um, the organization recognized me, and then they kind of elevated me to a managerial role, managing a large team. Couple of years passed, and then again a thought came to my mind. Though uh, the job was very rewarding, um, it gave me the enough impetus to really move forward, but I felt something was missing, right? This time I did not go to my friends or to my family to ask what should I really do. Rather than I looked inward, uh, more so a deep reflection. as I was doing an unexpected call that came from Zoho, right? So I was having a conversation as part of the interview. The last round was with my co founder. He offered an interesting perspective. He said, Vardha, you know what? I think you would better fit in HR than in sales. I applied for a regional sales head role. He asked me to really think and come back. That changed my trajectory, and rest is history. For the last 2.5 decades, I have done like multiple roles in HR, in startups, mid-sized organization, and large enterprises. Of course, I also did my third master's in human resource management and a PhD. So in short, um, is the journey linear? I would say like answer is not. You have to just go with the flow.
So interesting, Vardha. Thank you for sharing this with us. I mean, it turned out to be that it wasn't definitely by choice that you chose HR. It was discovered for you, and that too by somebody who trusted in you, and you proved him absolutely uh, successful in that discovery. Okay, so Vardha, I think we would like to really know that what are those lessons which are from your early career that still hold, they still hold true for you as of now, today?
Universe constantly send angels in some form or shape to kind of direct you and take to a right destination, and that is one moment, right? So when you just ask me about the early career lesson, um, been brought up from a very humble, modest, middle class upbringing. The beauty of it, it teaches you that you have freedom to experiment and no fear of failure because you have nothing to lose, right? So that stayed with me from the time I was a student till now, right? Um, why I say that? Um, I kind of changed my trajectory, professional trajectory, multiple times, even during my educations, right? So I started off as a science enthusiast from a chemistry. I kind of repivoted myself to marketing, from marketing to an HR, um, from a profession standpoint as a sales guy in a pharma organization to an HR guy in an IT organization. So there are a lot of repivots that I have made. In a summary, the question that I want really kind of leave it to the audience is being stuck is a good thing or not, right? If you ask me, being stuck is a fabulous thing to happen in someone's life because it helps you to transform rather than to take an incremental step, right? um, so therefore I would probably would say that like how startups constantly repivot them to find their product market fit to stay relevant and to stay ahead. Similarly, as individuals, we should find personal market fit, right? This personal market fit would really kind of make you uh, not just only kind of be relevant, but also that you can unleash your inner potential.
That's a very good takeaway for the audience. You should definitely try and find your personal market fit. Yeah. So, whether you've built large, teams and you've scaled up teams for high growth companies, right? Um, let's talk about building people strategies that keep pace with growth without losing depth or purpose. How do you balance agility, risk taking, and structure in a high growth company?
Wow, very powerful question, Neha. I think it's quite deep as well. What you said is bang on. To build a high growth, high impact organization, all three what you said are key recipes. So, as you were asking this question, I get to my memory lane. This happened in one of my previous organization. It was during the town hall when one of the co-founder was presenting the product roadmap, and he was unveiling 10 product ideas, right? Um, and he said, "This is going to be our future." At the end of the presentation, a very curious young lad, fresh out of college, stood up and asked a question. Said like, "You have launched 10 new product ideas. May I know which one of them would be successful and transform the organization?" Right? It stunned all of us. But brilliantly, the founder first he smiled, and then he paused, and then that response kind of shook all of us. He said that I don't know which of the 10 can transform the organization, but I know for sure one or two will. Right? So powerful. That moment stayed with me. So what it really gave me the leadership lesson there was you don't have to have answers to all the question, but it is important to have courage to experiment, right? Humility to admit uncertainties, and resilience to learn and pursue, right? These are the very important element to build a high growth, high impact organizations.
Very true, Varadha. Couldn't agree with you more on that. As a follow up question to that, I would also, or the audience would like to really know from you that what should startups and growing companies get right early, when it comes to their people and org design?
See, org design is very crucial for an organization to really succeed, right? Startup generally get tempted speed over structure, right? I wanted everything now, right? That's how like startups operate here and now. But then the first principle that I always believed in, strategy should drive structure, and structure should drive all people decision. In other words, people should follow structure, structure should follow the strategy.
Right.
If you reverse it, it's going to be a disaster, right? I recollect an example. This happened in one of my previous organization. Very high profile person who was being referred, went through the interview process, fancy resume, and we made an offer. Trust what, in couple of months, or maybe like in like a quarter, the first line disappeared. In about 2-3 quarters, we had to rebuild the entire team. Right. So therefore, what is important is to not get carried away by the fancy CVs and credentials, but then it's important to hire for skill that fits into the structure, right? So therefore, the element of people following structure and structure following the strategy should be intact and should be adopted in the early part of the organization. One wrong move can take organization backward multiple years.
True. Absolutely true. Okay, now let's zoom in on culture and leadership, the two most critical levers for any organization, Vardha. Especially when it comes to reward, alignment at the top, and fostering innovation. The stakes are very high. My question to you will be, Vardha, that considering that culture is a silent engine of growth, what is it, in your experience, makes a culture of ownership and innovation?
I really like the question. More so, culture is a silent engine. Maybe I'll borrow this and use it elsewhere.
You're most welcome.
Okay. I strongly believe, Neha, like an organization should keep the strategy close, but culture closer. Right.
Yeah.
That's a invisible fabric that binds the organization. Let me first explain the word culture. Sometimes people think that's very difficult to articulate, right? Let me explain that with a metaphor. Uh, Imagine an organization like a aircraft. In an aircraft, you have an important, um I would say, parts and the people that really pay, right? Let me start with very important element in an aircraft is a engine, right? Engines are like the purpose in the organization, right? That powers the flight forward, right? If I would really put it in a way, like purpose are the ones which explains why the organization exists, right? So they're like the engine that powers the flight forward.
Yeah.
Then the second aspect is you have those wings, right? Wings are like employee value proposition that keeps the flight forward, right? Employee value proposition is, if I have to really explain you the EVP, is what people experience, right? How people experience. Purpose is like why an organization exists.
Right.
EVP is like how people experience the organization. And the third is your rudders, which is like a moral compass to an organization. It gives direction to the flight, right? These values are nothing but what the organization mean for, right? So you have the purpose, which is why an organization exists. You have an EVP, how people experience it, and the values, what it really means, right? So this why, how, and what are the three important elements that defines the culture. Over and above, you have very important players, your co-pilots, right? Imagine co-pilots are your leader and an HR, right? Their job is to kind of ensure the flight reaches the desired destination safely and on time, and passengers are like your employees of the organization,
Right.
right? So to me, this is what the culture, and if or to kind of bring this aspect live, you need to have all this aspect work seamlessly and work in harmony. In a summary, I have a one-liner definition of culture. Uh, Culture is not what you demonstrate, but what you tolerate.
Right. Very rightly said.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you've explained it really well with the analogy of an aircraft, for the answer to this question, wherein we wanted to really understand the drivers for a culture of ownership and innovation. So the audience will be like really, happy to take this away, as an answer. Now, taking a cue from your answer, wherein you were talking about the co-pilots, Vardha, let's try and understand, how do you design CXO and leadership compensation, when it comes to keeping in mind that, it is for the long-term alignment and the right fitment is happening for them. How do you really do that as an HR leader?
Yep. I think CXO compensation itself is a huge topic by itself. Especially like you are asking this question keeping startup in mind, right?
Yes, that's right.
Um, Startups generally run everything like a sprint, be it hiring, be it uh, making sure what should be the compensation and all of that, rather than looking at it very, very structurally, right? Um More so, I have seen, experienced through my friends, colleagues in the industry, and also like in my previous organizations, where compensation specifically at the CXO levels are like how much that we overbid in the market. Then looking at a big picture, how much more that I can really pay than the big picture. We are so used to 20%, 30%, 40% increase, rather than looking at what it means for the job role and the impact the individual brings in.
Right.
Right? I strongly believe in one need to really pay for the job role and the impact the individual brings in, rather than benchmarking it with the fancy CVs and the previous compensation the individual brings in. That defeats the entire purpose, right? Um, when you are hiring a CXO, you're not hiring a CXO for an output, but you are hiring a CXO to create an impact, alignment, and more importantly, acceleration,
Yeah.
right? Uh, and if you, in a summary, if you just ask me, do leaders join just for compensation? Maybe not, right? Compensation may act as an acceleration, but not as an anchor, right? They join when they find a meaning in the job, when their individual purpose aligns to the organization purpose, and where they feel that they can act as an accelerator. That's the truth.
Right. From a design perspective, do you think that, for startups, the leadership role should have a pay mix which is a 50-50 fixed and variable, or something which you think is the right combination to have the right design for that particular level? Or you think that, compensation, yes, of course, it attracts. I mean, it's like the basic need, which is supposed to be really taken care of. But other than that, what you said, that, that excitement around the role, the quality of the role, and the value which the person is bringing to that role, in terms of the why of the organization, which we talked about, if it is sold well to the, candidate, do you think only that is suffice, or we really need to look at the technical side of it also, in terms of...
It's not either or, Neha. It is the combination of all of the aspects. For example, as I said, that you need to have a compensation that is pegged at a job role. Let's say that could be your base pay, and over and above, what really acts as an accelerator is your stock CSOPs,
Right.
is your performance bonus,
Yes.
is your profit sharing.
Yes.
That actually kind of enables an individual to join and put the skin on the game.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
When you combine this total reward philosophy of your base pay with your accelerator, what I really said,
Yes.
along with the purpose, that's when like you're going to attract a leader who just not join but thrive.
Yes. Very well said. All right. So on that note, I think we'll shift our gears to another segment, which is going to be the last segment, Varadha. Talent. It's the biggest asset and the challenge for a young company, who's trying to really scale up in uncertain conditions, right? You've worked with both large enterprises and fast-scaling startups. What do early stage companies often get wrong about talent?
Yeah. With my limited experience of me working in startups and being associated with startups from the research standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
right? Often, what I really see them erring on the wrong side, for them, everything is a sprint,
Mm.
right? Everything is like here and now, right? Including the resources.
Yeah.
Um, and what happens when you are always kind of prefer speed over structure and quality, you end up compromising on what is required for the long term.
Hmm.
What I'm trying to really decode is, if resource planning takes a back seat,
Hmm.
then you are violating the first principle.
Right.
So you are only trying to fill the gap, but you're not going to really fill the right person in the right org structure.
Hmm.
So, so therefore, what I would urge all the startup founders to balance the pace and the grace, and make sure that you build the
Hmm.
right pipeline upfront. Otherwise, you are hooked to attracting to a fancy CV
Hmm.
over skill and capability,
Hmm.
attracting an alpha personality over a diversity.
Right.
You get into a lot of biases and then quick fixes.
Mm-hmm.
Hiring is not about a quick fix. You are building an organization for tomorrow.
Hmm.
The question to be asked is, do you want people tomorrow, or you want people who can shape tomorrow,
Hmm.
right?
Very well said.
The obvious answer is the later, right?
Yeah.
But if you're just here and now, you're going to be get hooked to I want people tomorrow.
Hmm.
That means you are not looking at a future beyond here and now. So I'm
So true.
yeah. So I'm going to leave this thought, and then we can pick up in the later questions.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I think a very important point which Varadha has talked about here for all the founders and startup owners, resource planning. It's worth to spend your time on that rather than really getting into a hurry of hiring and then later on firing because you did not plan it properly. And of course, when it comes to the startups, you have to be profitable and you have to reach that mark, and people cost is something which adds to it the most. And the first one which gets impacted when that comes is that because you did not plan and you hired, now you're firing the people on the line, right? So to avoid such a situation, wherein this hiring firing game is not done, you better invest time in resource planning at the beginning, and you hire for people to shape the tomorrow, not tomorrow.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You don't hire for tomorrow, but shape your future.
Yes. You shape your future, you shape your tomorrow with the right set of people onboarded,
Yeah.
right? In resource constrained environments, which I just talked about for startups or fast scaling companies, Varadha, how can founders prioritize hiring and retaining great people without overspending?
Okay. That's a very deep and a very tricky question, Neha. The reason why I just said is, today, if you just go and ask in any survey why people leave, the obvious top 3 or 4 answers could be because of compensation, right? Um, Here is an example that I want to really quote, right? In one of the startups that I really worked, the founder was very clear. He said, I can't compete with this crazy market where people are just throwing money at it, right? But still, he built a stellar team. Now the question is, how did he really do that? So he started to kind of sell purpose over the paycheck. He didn't sell the paycheck, but he sold why an individual should really join, right? and he had a candid conversation with the individuals. Lot of times during the hiring process, we are very busy evaluating the individual, and we seldom do in selling the purpose. Right? Today, this generation, Zen Alpha, Gen Z, I think they prefer joining an organization where they can learn, make an impact, and leave a legacy over compensation. Right? So that's a generation that we are in, and therefore taking time in kind of explaining them. And in fact, you have to be very candid. I learned it from that founder that during the conversation, he would be very candid and telling the candidates, I can't offer you luxury, but I can offer you something where you will be part of journey where we leave a legacy, which is very true.
Yeah.
And therefore people join, they join for that grand mission, not for the compensation.
Right.
Is a living example.
True that. Absolutely. So on that, Varadha, how do you instill an entrepreneurial and ownership mindset in teams when you are building from the ground up?
Yeah, in fact, my research was in that same subject. Having an culture of entrepreneurship is a differentiator in organization where they thrive versus where they don't thrive.
Right.
That's my research outcome, right? As part of my research, I interviewed a young women entrepreneur, right? She just jumped into the world of entrepreneurship 2 years after her graduation. That means she had just 2 years of corporate experience. That got me curious. I asked her, how come in 2 years you had that guts and courage to jump, right? Most of us, including me, even after 3 decades, I still hesitate, right? She narrated her experience, the organization where she really worked. In 6 months, our manager said, there is going to be a business development meeting, and there is a large consumer brand is going to visit us, the CXO level. You know what? You're going to lead the conversation.
Okay.
Right? This is not usual, right? When such CXOs visit an organization, so on the other side, if not for CXOs, at least the next layer would really represent, and not somebody who's just 6 months in the organization. This person was a bit nervous and said, like, how can I really handle? I'm not used to it. And for that, this leader responded, you have to start somewhere. And I'm giving you this start. He just not pushed her into the deep sea, but also ensured that he's there behind the scene as an invisible hand to make sure that she is confident in answering. And also said, whether we win or lose, we are on the same boat. Right?
Yeah.
Gives that psychological safety for a person to really experiment.
Right.
It's a daunting task. The first time, I think, the individual experimented, there were ups and downs. As the journey continued, right, at the stroke of the second year, she really mastered the skill and felt that I can be better than any CEOs in the industry.
Right.
So that gave her the thought, if I can do that well here, why not my own venture? Right? To me, that's a true culture of entrepreneurship, right? Where leaders role model, they just not role model, but they provide opportunities and ensure the risks are rewarded, and they view winning and failures in the same order. So when you have that kind of a leadership and the culture, then obviously entrepreneurship, ownership thrives in the organization. So, in a summary, um, I would say leader's job is not managing, but to build future leaders where they really build entrepreneurship.
Absolutely true. And I think this story reminds me of an article which I read on the social handle of Leena Nair when she received a call for getting selected for the CEO of Chanel. She called up her mentor, Indra Nui, and she was very nervous and she said, can I do this? I am not too sure. And when Indra Nui actually gave that confidence to her, that of course, I mean, in the first place, you're getting this opportunity, you're being selected, it's clearly telling you that you are ready for it. And there is, what is it which is making you feel that you're not? So all you need sometimes is that confidence from one mentor or leader, who's really assuring you that you would be able to do it, right? When the resources are available, when you have the right capabilities, the ground is yours completely to win, right? So I think we'll just wrap it up here. I mean, from a questions perspective, but I do have one more question, which is not in the script, Vardha. What is that one tip which you would like to give to a startup like us, Tallect, to be successful?
Begin with an end in mind. It's very important. Don't fall prey to here and now. Balance between here and now versus your long term. And then, very importantly, just be close to your customer, right? Because we exist because of them, and their needs are constantly changing. And if you're close to the customer, then you would know what are their preferences, and therefore how you can personalize them well ahead of curve. That's a game changer.
Thank you so much, Vardha. That's so true. So with that, I think we'll wrap up all the questionnaire rounds which were related to the corporate side of it. Now we'll do a quick lightning round we will call Add to Cart today, which is taken from your book, Add to Cart. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, go ahead, shoot.
Okay, all right. The first question is, one leadership trait every founder must cultivate.
One leadership trait every leader must cultivate. I think a leader, founder who can balance between going for valuation versus value creation. It's not either or, it is both. If you just thrive on valuation, then you have a lot of examples where they go up and then they fall really flat.
Yeah. Straight away down. Yeah, agree. Okay, what's your favorite business or HR book? Of course, other than the two books which you've written.
I would say it's mine.
I've already clarified
you
that.
clarified?
So, yes.
I actually recommend people to read Execution by Dr. Ramcharan.
Okay.
It's very powerful.
Right. Okay. Sure. Execution by Ramcharan.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. One piece of people wisdom most founders overlook.
Creating a sense of belongingness.
And if I can just ask, how do you do that quickly? Like, is there any way to really keep in mind when you are creating? There are ways. I know we don't have to go in details, but
it's simple. If you can replicate the playbook of aircraft metaphor, you will definitely create.
Yes.
It's the combination of purpose, values, EVP, combined how leaders and HR, they kind of ensure they take care of their employees to drive to their desired destination on time and safely. That creates a sense of belongingness, and it creates a sense of purpose in them.
Absolutely true. One HR myth you'd love to bust?
Yeah, a lot of them think HR is a common sense. Yeah, it's not so.
Yeah, and anything else? I mean, like, I mean, which is a myth, like, which you would like to really burst in the sense that, people think that HR is a yes sir kind of a department, or, HR is only for
A
rangoli
lot of
making.
myths. If you
Yeah.
just say one of the myth is like uh, they see HR only in birthday parties and
Hmm.
celebrations. So we are
Hmm.
not a
Hmm.
department which does only cake cutting, right?
Right, right.
So it's a myth. They also say like we are just a paper pusher. That's a
Hmm.
myth,
Hmm.
right? There are a lot of myth in that. I would put on top um, that HR is not a common sense,
Hmm.
not only common sense.
Right, right. True that. I think that's a really valuable conversation which I had with you today, Vardha. Thank you so much for sharing your deep insights and lessons from your 3 long decades of professional journey.
Hmm.
Um, while wrapping this up, I would like to know what's next on horizon for you. Any projects or ideas you are exploring right now? Maybe you would like to share with the audience and me.
Um, I'm just embarking on my next research book um that kind of gives a perspective for the new generation. What does leadership mean to them?
Mm-hmm.
Gen Z and Gen Alpha. So that's a research playbook that I'm planning to embark.
Okay, great. We look forward to that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Varadha. And that's it for Tallect Talks today. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. Don't forget to really subscribe, share, and leave us a review on all our social media handles. We have our presence on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Insta by the name of Tallect. Until then, stay curious, keep learning. Thank you so much.